My name is Clay Williams, and this is People Talks, presented by Canal Pursuit Productions. The idea behind People Talks is that everyone has a story, and everyone's story has value to the people who hear it, and value to the person who owns it. In the weeks ahead, we'll be having a mixture of people with lived experience and people who work in the mental health and fitness areas, one speaker at a time. This week's speaker is Dr. James Gregg. As a life coach and practicing chiropractor, Dr. Gregg has awakened the hearts and minds of people and organizations, both locally and internationally, with his inspired how-to programs for transforming their lives to reach their greatest potential. As a Kitchener-Waterloo chiropractor, Dr. Gregg and his staff have been helping patients for over 24 years. Recently, Dr. Gregg was voted the 2020 Kitchener-Waterloo Record Reader's Choice Diamond Award winner for Best Chiropractor. Dr. Gregg, welcome to People Talks.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Looking forward to what you have to share with us today.
Well, I hope I have something to share. Apparently, your organization and your speakers are outstanding and a great group of people to be speaking to. Certainly today of all days, with recent announcements and where we're going and what's been going on, I think it would be a great day to have a conversation on some different thinking, maybe some wellness thinking, but some critical thinking with the goal of arriving at a place where we can continue to function and be ready to thrive when that day comes, which hopefully is pretty soon. So, so my name is Dr. James Gregg. I'm a chiropractor in Kitchener. As Clay mentioned before, I've been in practice for 24 years. And we've done 275,000 office visits at my office in that time. I've probably done over 2 million adjustments myself. I'm a hands-on guy. I'm the one doing the work. Recently, in the last 2 years, we've moved into a 3,500 square foot office and added a team around us of people. And we're trying to live our dreams out that way, which is really interesting. My 1 year anniversary to the day was the COVID lockdown day in April, which is pretty fascinating at the time. So I'm also one of the team doctors for University of Waterloo's football team. I'm certified with the Titleist Performance Institute on Advanced Biomechanics and MP, which is medical professional too. And I have a real passion for helping people move better, for helping people feel better, and for helping people live better. And I love what I do now more than I did when I started. So it's kind of one of those cool things. And you know, we won the Office of the Year and Chiropractor of the Year during a COVID year, which I thought was a pretty great blessing. And I was very proud and very honored. And so I'm going to try to share today some thoughts and some thinking and some ideas on just the way we work in our office and what I talk about with people every day. And I'm blessed with a group of patients that have been regulars, and we have a pretty high stream of referrals. I don't advertise. So people tell people, and that's how we get to where we're at. And through the pandemic, there's some pretty significant themes that have arisen and common themes. And so I'd like to have just a conversation as if we're in front of each other. Normally, when I speak, I'm in front of a large crowd and people can put their hands up and they can talk. So this is a unique format. And so we're going to give it a go. But hopefully at the end, if people want to reach out, they'll feel free to do so. So one of the things that I'm noticing right now, and we've just gone into another stay-at-home order, and people are panicking. People are frustrated. People's bodies are breaking down and nobody knows what's going on. Some of what I'm going to say in the moment might seem a little bit sarcastic. I can get that way at times. It's one of my coping mechanisms. My story is a bunch of stories. It's a bunch of stories on the people that I see and that I learn from. Just a little bit of history of how I got to where I get to. I'm a passionate reader and studier. Everybody has fears. Everybody has traits that they're working on and trying to get better. And one of my traits that I work on is I like to be well-read. I like to do all the research for my patients. And if I have an opinion, I want them to know that they know that I know that they know that they know that I know exactly what I'm talking about. And so sometimes that's driven by fear of not being able to defend the positions that I take, and also not knowing enough to help these people with the absolute certainty faith, confidence, and belief that what I tell them is going to help them get to where they got to get to. This has been a weird year for being a studier and a reader, because you turn on the computer and it isn't good. We see what I'll call spin doctors every single day. The media goes one way, the media goes the other way. We blame the premiers, we blame the prime minister, we blame vaccines, we blame COVID, we blame travel. Everything's blame, 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 blame. We blame lockdowns. There isn't much positivity. Now, one of the things in the real world is that nothing is ever created or destroyed, it just changes form, and everything is always in balance. So there's not just negativity, there's positivity that balances these charges out. And I'm going to give you an example. For all the negativity I just said, there has to be an equal amount of comedy in this tragedy. The late night talk show hosts last year had a field day with Donald Trump. They were able to make joke after joke after joke, taking something that was a negative and turning it into a positive. Right now, TikTok is a saving grace for so many people. People are reaching out to speak about mental health issues. People are looking for comedy and feel-good stories. And my wife, God bless her, she's on there all the time. I just hear her giggle and laugh and laugh and laugh. So all we have to do is look for the balance in the disorder. And I think that when it comes to mental health, a great deal of what we see in people's minds and bodies breaking down stem from kind of a form of depression. And basically, a lot of depression is when our idea of how life should be doesn't match up with how life is. Mm-hmm. And the inability to process that, because we don't come equipped with the tools to help our minds and our bodies break through that. And then you go through a year of pandemic, and my goodness, the wear and tear on us. Now, I find it interesting. I get to speak to a group largely of runners and people that like to get up and get moving, which is fantastic, because that's kind of what I encourage people to do. But I'm assuming that there are some people that are struggling in the motivation category, struggling in the endurance category, just can't get a go of it, just can't make it work like they used to, down and out. And that happens. And a lot of it happens from sitting in front of a machine that you're watching us do this talk today, because that's where we're at. The fresh air, the amazing spring that we've got this year, we're really blessed that if we're going to be in a pandemic, could you imagine if the skies were gray and raining and we didn't have all this great weather right now? My goodness, it would turn us all into some pretty bad shape people. So I think a little bit about what I want to go in the direction is helping people understand the balancing of the mind-body process. When we understand the mind-body process, we have to understand that our thoughts are who we are. And we have 1 trillion cells in our body that are doing 1 billion functions per second. And they have to organize this in harmony, balance, and order. So if the cells are not communicating with the brain, and the brain is sending, let's just say static, like on the satellite dish goes out, that signal, that's what your tissues are going to get. The mind and the nervous system are supreme. Breakdowns in the body can't fix themselves if they're not getting the right signals. And so we have to think in terms of this mind-body connection, but it goes both ways. So think about a safety pin. You have the top and the bottom, and they're connected. At the top's the brain. One part of it goes down to the body, and the body goes back up to the brain. Essentially, one can control the other. Your body can fix your mind, and your mind can fix your body, but they both can't be broken. So, little example. We are doing this now. We're all rounding forward. Mm-hmm. Shoulders are rounded. We're compressed in our chest. Try taking a deep breath in if you round forward. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. Now, if we lean backwards and we put our hands on our head and we just increased 50% lung capacity. We go down like this, we put our chin down, we're unhappy. 2 centimeters, that's it. Just a 2 centimeter raise, chin up 2 centimeters and smile. And it's impossible not to feel that. Mm-hmm. That is just a simple mind-body connection on how you can change what your hormones and your nervous system are doing at that moment in time. So what's the disease that's going on right now? It's not COVID. It's Zoom disease. It's computer disease. Mm-hmm. It's rounded shoulders, sitting in this position with our hips crunched and shortening in the front, which makes our bum muscles get tight. And our shoulders are rounding in the front, which makes our shoulders get achy and boggy. And then we do this all day long. We used to get up, get a shower, get breakfast, walk to the car, drive to work, get out of the car, walk into work, socialize with people, work, do our work, get in the car, go home. There's a routine. Many people have lost their routines. And the nervous system layers over with routines. And that's a bit of a problem if we don't have these routines we can count on that we got comfortable. We spend a lot of our lives building a life that with our family, our friends, our network, we choose or we hope to choose jobs that are fulfilling. And even jobs that people aren't thoroughly enjoying, right now people are missing. Kind of interesting when you look at it. So they're not getting the people, the places and the things that make them who they are. And they're having to redefine themselves in what I'll call an identity crisis. Everybody on our continent is having an identity crisis right now. And it's very disappointing and it's very frustrating. There's two types of people though. And it's never been more obvious than even in the last few days. You read the comment section in any paper. You've got your National Post and the Sun, they lean a certain way. You've got the Globe and Mail, they lean a certain way. You got Twitter, you got all these other places, they all lean their different way. But what's really fascinating is that we're getting into this class warfare. We've got people who are so afraid of the world and the virus and everything. And we've got just as many people on the other side who are terrified of being locked down and losing their civil liberties. And these conflicts, not saying one's right or wrong, but they're in equal proportion. We have a balance in the universe that can't be changed. And somewhere in the middle, there are people who can't quite figure out where they are. People are afraid, but they're worried about being perceived as afraid. There are people who are angry, but they don't want to be angry. And all of these create conflict in your body. Now, Harvard has a mind-body institute. What would Harvard's mind-body institute say about conflicted emotions like this? When we're rigid and held up, we're constipated. When we are fearful and can't hold on to anything, we've got diarrhea. It is a simple, fascinating thing you see every day in people's perspectives. Also in the mind-body connection, we feel burdened. And so burdens live in the shoulders and across the neck. And that's part of this rounding, and the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Headaches are up. Headaches are up because people are frustrated, and frustration and rage live in the head. And one thing we're seeing at our office this year, more than I've ever seen before, is a significant increase in L4-5 disc problems causing sciatica that's radiating into the feet. Now, let me preface that. I've been in the game a long time. I've seen a lot of visits. I think we pretty much understand the human body, but I'm still learning. This is fascinating this year, but I might get 5 people that have a true disc injury a year that is bulging and sending significant pain down to the foot. I've had 5 in the last 2 months. I probably had 10 the previous 2 months. Now, people might think, wow, that's a pretty big increase. We're sitting right now on our glutes, putting pressure on the sciatic nerve, and in the mind-body connection, our support, which is our lower base, spine, and pelvis, it's breaking down. We lose our support. Our mind is sending negativity. If you're a person who has been affected with your job or your security or your finances, then sciatica is just knocking at your door, because that area of the body represents your stability, your foundations. I see people, no word of a lie, come into the office and say, I just can't get out of this. I can't get walking. I can't get moving. Okay, well, then what are you feeling in your body today? Plantar fasciitis. Plantar fasciitis. The feet aren't moving. They feel the pain in the feet. It's fascinating. And I've been doing this long enough that when you see these patterns in people, you just know where they're coming from. And you want so badly to help people figure it out. So how do we figure it out? We have to look at the positives and the negatives and find a balance. So a little exercise I did the day that COVID got shut down on my 1-year anniversary in my brand new office, and things were going great. And all of a sudden, Dr. Jamie goes into his fear mode, his panic mode. I got this office. It's huge. My rent is up. I got all these things to do. I got staff that I've got to take care of. Patients are calling saying, I don't want to leave the house, but yet their bodies are breaking down. I got people calling me, can I please come in even if you're locked down? I'm in so much pain. And we weren't locked down, but they didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I immediately had to say, Jamie, this is where you know that all your training has come out of this exact moment. And so the exercise I did was I got out a pen and a paper and I started writing. And I started writing, what are 100 benefits to being locked down? And I got 10, I got 15, but I kept it on my desk to keep writing every time I could come up with a positive to the negative. The negatives are easy: loss of income, loss of family, loss of friends, loss of freedoms. But what are some of the positives? The obvious ones: locked down in my house with my kids. I get to spend more time with my children. I get to spend more time with my wife. Get to see family, change the priorities around. I wasn't going to be able to play hockey. They were shutting our hockey down. That got me in the gym. I started working on some weak areas of my body. So you look at these little things and they're unique to everybody, but you can find, and even if you're making stuff up, your brain will register it as a positive. And these are the little things that we have to do. And guess what? That might help you feel good for a day. But then 2 days later, we start to shrink into our bodies in this posture again. You got to get the list out and you got to read it. And that's the hard part, is knowing that it's a full-time job to stay mind, body well. Then we saw people that weren't getting out of the house. Now, biomechanically, hip flexors shortening, they would get up and try to do some push-ups. They'd try to get some exercise and they'd hurt themselves because they were sitting for so long. They weren't ready. They weren't fit. They weren't able. And so this is where the cure can be worse than the disease. We're seeing so many different things happen in our bodies that we weren't used to when we were in this first lockdown. Last spring, all of a sudden, it was full contact gardening season. Everybody started gardening because that was what we could do. Nobody knew what else to do. And my phone starts ringing off the hook because everybody's been sitting until the spring came, which was a little bit later last year. The garden stores weren't open, so everybody was late, and they had shortened tissues. They had stiff, achy joints. They weren't moving. Now, what's funny is everybody was walking, but people that had never walked before started getting up and walking. There were dogs going, really? Another walk? Come on, man. It's kind of funny. So, but people were sore because their feet and their knees and their ankles, they couldn't handle the demands they were putting on their bodies because they weren't used to it. So one of the positives of this COVID lockdown is it got people moving that were never moving. It got people into running. And running can be, from what I understand from the best runners in the world, you say, why do you run? They go, it's my time. It's my meditative space. It's my rhythm. If you say that to me, I play 100 rounds of golf a year. I built a practice where my schedule lets me get out there. I walk the golf course. I hear the clanging of the clubs. That's my meditative time. Keeps me fresh so that when I go into the office, I see my patients. They go, how do you have so much energy? I said, I found a way to balance it all out. And that's the key. I'm not always perfect, but when I lose that, I have an ability to go find that balance again. And I think that that's the key. So a simple exercise like writing out 100 positives and trying to get there, especially this week when here we go again into this. Well, we've got this great weather. How are we going to take advantage of it? So when I heard this lockdown coming in December and my hockey team wasn't going to get together, I also knew that the University of Waterloo men's football team wasn't going to be able to do their regular practices. And I have found such joy and passion in the football program with working with the young men and the great elite athletes that we've been working with. I've been with them for about 5 years now. And to see the down faces, to see the lack of energy. It was Bell Let's Talk Day. So most people are familiar with Bell Let's Talk. And Bell Let's Talk Day, in comes a young man. He's 19 years old and he is a very big football player. And he says, Doc, can I talk to you? I said, absolutely. In the room we go, because I can't do it. I'm going on all days. Bell Let's Talk Day. He wanted to talk. I couldn't be more happy at that moment that I was open to be there to let him hear it. This is a big guy who couldn't say it amongst his teammates, couldn't say it to his coaches, because I'm losing it. My girlfriend's out of town. We can't see each other. My teammates and I were not able to do what we want to do. School's too tough. I have nowhere to go. And I said to him at that moment, I'm really glad you came to me. Now, this is a 19-year-old boy. Think about how many more people that lost their sports, young people. I think that that's one of the big side effects and tragedy, because that's an age category that statistically have a pretty much zero chance of having COVID affect them, but they're a byproduct of that. So in that moment, how do we tell this person? I said, well, what are you feeling? Headachy, I feel nauseous, My body aches all the time. And I go, let's talk about your training. Are you training? Well, I kind of mailed it in. If we're not going to get to practice, then why am I going to work out? I said, well, you got to find that motivation inside you. I said, we're going to have 110 players in camp next year. If you want a spot, you're going to have to earn it. And his eyes went, there's no guarantees. Now, all of a sudden, his value system was brought into the game. Mm-hmm. I said, let's start working on your mobility. Let's start working on your flexibility. Let's get rid of these headaches and that pain, and let's get you body weight exercise. He says, okay. And I said, you don't need a girlfriend for that. You don't need your teammates for that. You need a heart. And how big is your heart? Long story short, 3 weeks later, he's out jogging. He's starting to feel his joints open up. He's doing a body weight program because there's no gym at the time. And he never felt fitter or stronger. Happy to say that 3 months, January, February, March, this young man continued on that journey because he found whatever the motivation was, whether it's too many people coming into camp, too many people competing for the same position, that was the motivation for them. So we've all got to find motivation for them. But if we're achy, stiff, sore, stuck, pretty much our thinking has got to be mirroring that. So how can we prepare our bodies and how can we work on our minds at the same time to be ready when this pandemic ends? Because one of the things that is everybody's read about it. I think there's 250,000 surgery backlog in Canada right now. Cancer, heart disease, and hip arthroplasties, knee arthroplasties, shoulder surgeries. So these are people that are in pain that aren't moving. They're getting worse. But what about the people that aren't quite there yet? If the body starts to break down and you get too far behind, you can never make up for lost time. So one of the messages we've been promoting in our office is we're open. In fact, we're an essential service because it is essential for you to keep healthy and get your structure free. Get the tension out of your shoulders, get your low back moving because you're sitting, lengthen those hip flexors, and keep that mind-body connection because we know that every chiropractic adjustment stimulates multiple areas of the brain that fire off these mechanisms. And the governments at large and the different regulatory authorities don't want us to say that what we do helps the immune system. Okay, well, we know that people that have a healthy structure, function, hormones, vitamin D, good chemistry, good nutrition, and exercise have a better immune system. Mm-hmm. So there's the way around it. We got to do those things. And I'm blessed that we have a practice of people who have really taken it on to make sure that they are well. And in the meantime, they've referred people that are unwell, and they've been starting to take the journey to feel better. One of the things that people are afraid of most, though, is what happens in society and what they're reading. And this fear is tightening people. So let's have a very brief conversation on just some statistics for those of you who are in a camp that are really struggling with the fear. And I'm only giving statistics here. Today in Texas, they had, I think, 9,000 cases of COVID. Now, Texas is a weird example because Texas on May 1st opened up their thing. They had a legislative ban against lockdowns. They got rid of their masks, and they've got about a 20% vaccinated population. Recently, we just saw our hometown Blue Jays go to a game for their opener in Texas against the Texas Rangers, and there was 40,000 fans in the stands having the time of their lives. Two types of people: the patients that come in and they go, "Oh my God, I can't wait to get back to that." And then I have the other type of people. Look at those reckless idiots. And I'm like, wow. So there's two different perceptions, and it's just an event. I said, interestingly enough, the population of Texas is twice the size of Ontario. I said, do you know what their case counts are on April 1st? Or sorry, on April 1st, they were 3,000. What was Ontario's case counts with 14.7 million people that day? 3,000. Mm-hmm. So data-wise, it can be interpreted any way we want. When we look at and we listen and read the media, because the media is the message, and that's the hard part. They talked at the time about 421 cases in our ICUs. Now it's up to 500. Our capacity in Ontario apparently is 2,300 beds. But a simple Google search, and you go back to 2019, 2018, 2017, does anybody remember the hallway medicine years? When all our hospital rooms were full, all our beds were full, and people were in the hallways. We had 2,800 people in the ICUs at the time. And this is before COVID. Cancer, heart disease, car accidents, shootings, rheumatoid issues, colitis, ulcerative colitis, all the different diseases that people get. And can't forget flu. So flu took up our ERs on our ICUs for the longest time. So now when you play the game and you look at the numbers, they can be slanted any way you want. Nobody's saying they're not over capacity. But what's interesting is that the numbers, if the universe is totally balanced, they haven't changed. They're actually less. And if we have a 250,000 surgery backlog, that means the healthcare system's saving money right now. We're not spending money. And they can't catch up because there's not enough people. And so we're going to create a job market, hopefully, if we get it right, to help people get back on track. Because in my world, knee, hip, spine, those people need that to get moving. It's as worse a disease than statistically the COVID is that's going to get people. Now, some people, two types of people, those who are totally fearful and they have a right to be because it's hit home in that level and hit them on that neurologic level. And the people who say it's a hoax, which I don't know too many of them, but there are out there in equal proportion. Everybody has a right to their thought patterns, but we have to never give up our ability to critically look at the data and then process what's going on. So then you say, okay, well, what can I do? I'm doing all the right things. I'm wearing a mask. I'm washing my hands 100 times a day. They're raw. And I'm exercising. I'm eating right. I'm getting sunshine. What's going on? Well, you got to give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing all the right things. We can't be held hostage in our minds unless we let ourselves be held hostage in our minds, because our minds will then hold our bodies hostage. So whenever you hear the word lockdown, the best advice I can give people is, okay, if I'm reacting at a gut level to that, then my body is locking down. And so I now have to switch my brain into a way of thinking that's going to unlock my body. So go back to the list of 100 positives. What are the things we can do to get moving? A lot of times it's like, okay, listen, the massage therapists are open. I got to get my massage. I got to get my chiropractic adjustment. I got to get my exercise. And my dog's going to be happier than anything because they're getting out 10 times a day. They're little things, but they matter when they add up. And then find a motivation to do more. So if we can eliminate fear and replace it with understanding, we're going to have less lockdown in our body. And one of the ways to do that is to take action, some action step. If you're a runner, this has been the greatest March, April weather ever for getting out and being active. And we know the hormones that are produced from activity, even if it's small. One of the things that I said that I was going to do, I'm going to turn 50 this summer. And I said, I'm going to come into this because of this lockdown. I'm going to take advantage of the situation. I can't sit around and not. I get frustrated when I hear it. As an information guy, I just can't stand slant and spin and all these things, but that's my issue. So I have to then go inside and find the wellness. I said, I'm going to channel all that energy and I'm going to go into 50, the fittest I've ever been. Just a goal. It gets me moving. I said, started at 207 pounds January 1st, 194 pounds today with 5 pounds more of muscle, body weight squats, push-ups, exercise, doing the things we got to do so that I could prove. The days that I didn't feel like doing it, I just remembered that I might end up doing a talk like this one day. You have to stay motivated. You got to practice what you preach. And I can't go to the office and be a fraud. I don't want to be a fraud in life. So if I'm going to look my patients in the eye, I'm going to be a leader. And I'm going to lead my family. And I'm going to lead my friends. And I'm going to show them by example what they can do. And it's not hard. And so there's a challenge there for each of you that might be watching this video to say, can you lead somebody? Can you inspire somebody? Your own tissues are going to benefit the most. I'm probably going to benefit the most from giving this talk because all I'm doing is positively reinforcing the things that I believe to be true that are working and getting out there. And I'm hoping you will do the same thing and find what works for you. So I think thinking about comedy, thinking about tragedy, thinking about finding the upside and ignoring the downside is it's used too often now. I really think it's about getting moving. Now, let's talk about listening to your body. When your body is giving you signals, we can't ignore them. Pain is a communication mechanism. Now, there's good pain and bad pain. Anybody who's gone on a long run knows the wall. There's a wall at a certain point. There's a lot of training walls. There's a lot of issues that say, I can't. There are some times when it says, I can. And the old saying, are you injured or are you hurt? We can't injure ourselves, but we can push through. And these are great opportunities right now, if everything's closed, to take the next 4 weeks to push your endurance, to push your levels, to push your inspiration, so that in 4 weeks from now, you come out on top. If you're battling a back pain, a headache, a thoracic spine tightness, your asthma is flared up because you're so rounded and your lungs can't get their capacity, now's the time to take action. I have so many new patients this last 2 months because the people are breaking down. And one of my favorite things is when they go, you got to see my guy. Everybody's got a guy or a girl.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see my guy. They're open. What do you mean they're open? I thought everybody's closed. No, they're open. So take action and find a practitioner, somebody that will get you moving and free your joints up and help you feel good when you leave the office, somebody you trust. Inflammation of the mind leads to inflammation of the body. Start taking fish oils. Fish oils are a great supplement to help decrease inflammation in the brain, the cardiac system, the nervous system, and particularly the joints. And guess what? They're like $17.89 at Costco. Although you're not supposed to go to Costco right now, you should be able to get fish oils. 360 capsules for $17.89. Take 3 capsules a day. It's one of the simplest things you can do. It's great for skin, nails, hair, and people will feel good. Lubricate your joints. Simple little action steps. Start drinking more water. Stop drinking the scotch. A lot of people are putting that down. The liquor store is so popular right now because everybody's like, I can go there. I can get some, and sometimes feeling like I'm having a drink is calming me down. You know what? That's not a bad thing if it never gets to excess. And I think that that's where we have to say, what choices can I make? Well, tonight's a scotch night, tomorrow's a water night, and the day after that's a water night. And I'm going to get my nutrition up. I'm going to get my body moving. I'm going to go on Apple Fit and get a good video. I'm just going to take some baby steps today. Now, what if you're not feeling great and you can't do a lot of exercise? Little thing I call the kitchen sink squats. Many people that are feeling locked up, hurt in their back and their hips, they can go to the kitchen sink. Hold on to the kitchen sink and just start doing some deep knee bends and use the sink to pull yourself back up. Do 3 sets of 4 or 5 or 6. Take your time. It's not a power move. It's a mobility move. People get the blood flow going. They get their core going. They undo that tightness in the front of their hips. Those are the key right now. Our bum muscles, the glutes are not firing, people. These are the things that are supposed to help you jump over buildings. And instead, they're helping hold us up. And when the glutes are misfiring, those are going to pull on your spine. And eventually your L4, L5 disc is going to go. You know when it's going to go? When you get tackled in the garden at the full contact gardening season, when we're chasing down everything. You know, you're trying to get to the flowers because there's only 25 people allowed at a time and you don't know what the inventory is. So gardening is going to be a big passionate thing for people right now. And great, get out with nature. That's fantastic. But get loose, do some body weight squats. I have a lot of seniors who said, what can I do? I used to walk the mall. I can't go to the mall and I don't feel safe and I don't feel comfortable. And I can't afford a Stairmaster. And I go, do you have a house? Yeah. Well, I think you paid $300,000 to $800,000 for a lot of flights of stairs. So let's get going on the flights of stairs in our house. Take your time, hold the railing, go up and go down, go up and go down, go up and go down, take a break. Do it again. Again, simple little things to get moving that can really help us. Again, one of the last things I wanted to do is go over a little bit about some of the things that once we get moving and we're feeling the blood flow and our bodies are feeling better, one of the things we can do for our mind to process where we're at. And it comes down to this. When we fear losing something, it's because we're infatuated with it. When we fear gaining something, it's because we resent it. Now, what does that mean? For me, a lockdown, meaning that I might lose golf, gets my blood boiling. Well, then what is it about golf? Well, then I'm infatuated with golf. It means that it's got a hold on me. Anybody who's played golf, knows that it can be quite a game once it gets its grip on you. Now, take that to a different level. If I fear the loss of my patients who can't come in, or I'm fearful that my business will go down, or that I'm not able to provide the services I provide, that means at a deep subconscious level, I'm infatuated with what I'm getting out of that, because nothing's created or destroyed, it just changes form. So I'll often tell my associate and my other staff members, okay, things have gone down. If we're infatuated, it means they own us. So what are the positives to losing that so we can break free of that mind trap? Are there some people that were coming in that you really thought were wearing on your nerves and they just weren't getting the messages, and they're not coming in on the schedule you prescribed, and they're not getting well, but every day they come in and talk about how they're not getting well, but you know they're not doing anything? Well, those people might be gone. It's actually a positive with a negative. Now, some people fear gaining bad things. So the fear of being stuck at home, the fear of too much time on your hands, the fear of being in your house and trapped. Again, the simple one is there. What's the balancing act? Well, you more family, more friends, more time. You can exercise, you can clean. A lot of people have done home renovation projects. Go walk around your house and look for chipped paint and fill in the paint holes. Little things like that that are a building block and a measure to help you break free of that. Infatuation and resentment are two powerful opposite ends of the spectrum that the masters of living their lives find a way to live in the balance. They know where they're infatuated, they know where they're resentful. You can't switch a resentment to an infatuation and infatuation to a resentment. You have to find balance. Mm-hmm. And what did we say depression was? Very often, we have difficulty reconciling how we think life should be with how it is. So we think life should be wide open, or we think life should be more locked down, but it's not. Okay, well, what am I seeing that is out of balance in that situation? So I encourage people, start with your 100 good reasons and keep writing it and keep reading it. Start looking for comedy and tragedy. Mm-hmm. Get your body moving. And if it's stuck, find a professional to help get it moving. Do everything you can to keep inflammation out of your mind and your body. Inflammation destroys joint, muscle, and tendons, especially for the runners. The repeated stress and running on your joints, you cannot have mind stress because it's not going to get you to the promised land. When you go for a run, put a smile on. I mean, this is kind of a bad runner's joke, but I always say, has anybody ever driven down the highway and seen a runner smiling going, no, here's a runner. Why don't you be that runner with a smile on your face and get that energy up, get that chest up, and get those hormones going? And I guarantee you, your immune system shoots through the roof. And if COVID decides to knock on your door, you're more than ready, as opposed to someone who's stuck, who can't get a full breath in and breathe. And the last thing is affirmations. We know that daily affirmations can rise somebody up, can pick yourself up. One of the things we say, and it's on my business cards, is every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And it's a simple one. You can run to it. I'm on my Bowflex machine and I'm going every day in every way. I'm getting better and better. And it's certainly at the 22-minute mark when I'm okay, maybe I shut it down. Nope. Every day and every way, we're getting better and better. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. A simple little affirmation that works for you to help you break free, get your mind, get your body, and your spirit going. Mm-hmm. Keep running, keep moving, keep hugging, keep dreaming, and most of all, remember, 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters down, 2 centimeters up, and a smile. And that will change your physiology each and every day.
Right. That's awesome. That's a lot to digest, and
it's a lot.
I really appreciate you taking the time to put those thoughts together for us. I've taken a few notes, and I'll go over it again, and I'll watch after I publish this video. I'll go back and watch it again. Yeah, that's awesome. The mind-body connection is without doubt really strong, but something that if we understand it, we can definitely use to our benefit, right?
For sure. For
Mhm.
sure. We are what we think and we are what we do.
Mhm. Mhm.
And like I said, the safety pin, they certainly run each other. It's incomplete without one or the other.
Mhm. Mhm. For sure. Yeah, and they're not treated separately. Sorry, in traditional medicine, when I was a kid, and I'm about 10 years older than you,
Yeah.
there were two areas of practice, and that connection just
No,
wasn't
and
really made, right?
today I still see that. And so one of the things we do is we know that medicine is doing what they do. So
Mhm.
and they need to. So
Mhm.
we're trying to that's sick care. We try to be the healthcare part of things.
Mhm.
Once that's hit a certain level to move through it. People that need the drugs to heal in the moment need drugs to heal. Right? We need to do certain things sometimes to get through it. But once we're past that, what's next?
Mhm.
And the human brain is capable of producing any chemical you need. And if you need the short-term assistance, great. And if you need longer-term, well-being, you can add that too. So the two do work together, but we have to think in terms of, what are we doing to maximize what's inside us? That magic power that makes us who we are, that takes a peanut butter sandwich and turns it into hair and
Mhm.
growing nails. There's a
Mhm.
magic power in there that we've got to tap into.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. Right on. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, and um, I think that's about all
Yeah.
we've got.
All right. Thanks, Clay.